Ambassador Chen Wei walked through the crystal corridors of the Galactic Council building. His footsteps echoed in the quiet hallway. After 83 years, humanity was finally done with this place. The council chamber stretched before him like a vast arena. 47 species sat in their designated sections. The Vraxil occupied the highest platform, their insect-like bodies gleaming under the artificial lights. The Kelon floated in their water tanks. The massive Thraxians lounged in their reinforced seats. All of them looked down at the human section, literally and figuratively. Chen had been doing this job for 12 years. He had watched every human proposal get rejected, every request for colony protection denied, every innovation his species created somehow credited to someone else. Today would be different. The council recognizes Ambassador Chen of Earth, the speaker announced. The being's translated voice sounded bored. Chen stood. Around him, the other human delegates remained seated. They knew what was coming. The rest of the galaxy did not. Thank you, Speaker, Chen began. I stand before you for the last time as Earth's representative to this council. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Vraxil Prime Counselor, Zixthar, clicked his mandibles in what might have been amusement. We have submitted 347 proposals during our membership, Chen continued. 347 attempts to improve life in this galaxy, to protect colonies from raiders, to share medical advances, to strengthen trade. Every single one rejected. Your proposals were too radical, Zixthar interrupted. Humanity thinks 3 human lifetimes makes them experts. We have maintained peace for 10,000 years, Chen smiled. It was not a friendly smile. You call this peace? The Vraxil Consortium controls 70% of this council's economy. You have blocked every species younger than 5,000 years from the Security Committee. You have created a system where the old rule the young, where innovation dies in committee, where change is impossible. The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted in dozens of languages. The speaker called for order. Yesterday, Chen said, his voice cutting through the noise, you voted to make Earth a protectorate. You would strip my planet of sovereignty, make us children in your care, take our technology, our innovations, our freedom, and give us your protection in return. It is for your own good, said the Lumini delegate, her light form pulsing gently. Humanity is too young, too reckless. You do not understand the dangers. Chen pulled out a data pad. Shall I list the dangers you protected us from? The Krell pirates who raided human colonies for 3 years while you debated whether to act. The merchant wars where human traders were murdered and you formed a study committee. The Outer Rim famine, where millions died while you discussed proper procedure. He looked around the chamber. Some delegates would not meet his eyes. Every time we asked for help, you delayed. Every time we offered solutions, you rejected them. And every time we succeeded despite you, you claimed credit. Humanity is arrogant, Zixthar hissed. You have been among the stars for barely a century. We have maintained civilization for millennia. You will learn your place, Chen nodded slowly. That is where you are wrong, Counselor. We will not learn our place. We reject it entirely. He pressed a button on his datapad. Behind him, a holographic display activated. It showed a document with 47 signatures. 46 were marked with a green check mark. 1 Humanities was marked with a red X. This is the vote from yesterday. The vote to make Earth a protectorate. 46 species voted yes. Only humanity voted no. Chen's voice grew stronger. Today I am here to inform this council that humanity withdraws its membership, effective immediately. Silence fell over the chamber. Then chaos erupted again. You cannot simply leave, Zixthar shouted. There are treaties, obligations, procedures. We have fulfilled every obligation, Chen replied calmly. We have given proper notice as required by Article 47 of the Charter. Our withdrawal is legal and final. A Quilon representative activated its translator. This is foolish. Humanity needs the council. You rely on our jump gate network, our communication relays, our trade routes. Chen's smile returned. Do we? The doors to the chamber opened. Captain Sarah Okonkwo entered, wearing the dress uniform of the United Earth Space Force. Behind her, 20 human soldiers stood at attention. Captain Okonkwo commands the evacuation fleet, Chen explained. Every human citizen in council space will be withdrawn within 48 hours. Every human diplomat, trader, engineer, doctor, and teacher will return to human space. This is an overreaction, the Lumini delegate said. Stay, work with us. We can discuss reforms. We have been discussing reforms for 83 years, Chen said. Words are cheap. Yesterday's vote showed us your true intentions. Sixthar's voice turned cold. You will regret this. Without the Council's protection, humanity will be vulnerable. Without our infrastructure, you will be isolated. Without our wisdom, you will fail. Chen walked toward the exit. The other human delegates stood and followed him. At the doorway, he turned back. There is something you should know, Chen said. All those innovations we brought to the Council, the quantum communication relays that connect this entire galaxy, the medical scanners in your hospitals, the navigation systems that make your jump gates accurate, we built those. We installed them. We maintained them. He paused, letting that sink in. We also designed them with remote access, just in case something like this happened. Sixthar stood, his tall insectoid frame towering over his platform. You would not dare. Humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Council, Chen said formally. We are taking our technology with us. You built this galaxy on rules that favor the old and powerful. You created a system where change is impossible and new voices are silenced. We are going to build something better. He pressed another button on his datapad. Around the galaxy, in 10,000 locations, quantum relay stations began shutting down. The communication network that had connected civilizations instantly for the past 70 years went dark. The Council members' datapads began showing error messages. What have you done? Someone screamed. Given you what you wanted, Chen replied. A galaxy without humanity's interference, without our reckless innovation, without our dangerous ideas about equality and freedom. You can go back to the way things were before we arrived. He walked out of the chamber. Captain Okonkwo and her soldiers followed. Behind them, the Council descended into shouting and accusations. In orbit above Concordia Prime, 300 human ships were already moving. They had been waiting for this moment, engines hot, crews ready. Every human in Council space had known this day might come. They had prepared. Chen boarded his shuttle. Through the window, he could see the Council building growing smaller. Captain Okonkwo sat across from him. It's done, he said quietly. Yes, sir, she replied. All evacuation fleets are moving. We will have everyone out within 36 hours. They will come after us, Chen said. They will not accept this. Okonkwo nodded. We are ready for that too. The shuttle accelerated toward the jump point. Behind them, Concordia Prime was already experiencing communication failures. Within hours, the entire Council infrastructure would begin collapsing. Systems that had run smoothly for decades would suddenly malfunction. They would blame humanity. They would call it sabotage. They would say humans were petty and vindictive. They would be partially right. But Chen felt no guilt. Humanity had tried to work within their system, had followed their rules, had begged for a seat at the table as equals. Instead, they had been patted on the head and told to be quiet while the adults talked. Now the adults would learn what happened when you pushed humanity too far. The shuttle jumped into hyperspace. The Galactic Council fell into darkness, and humanity prepared for what would come next. Everything was about to fall apart. But first it needed to fall apart. Some things could not be reformed. They could only be rebuilt from the ground up. Chen looked at the stars streaking past the window. Somewhere out there, 200 human colonies were activating protocols they had practiced in secret, revealing shipyards and defenses that the Council never knew existed. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity had never been as weak or dependent as they pretended to be. They had been waiting, preparing, and hoping they would never need to use what they had built. That hope had died yesterday with that vote. Today, a new reality began, a reality where humanity stood alone, and they would prove they could not only survive it, but thrive. The quantum relay station on Outpost 17 went dark at exactly midnight, Galactic Standard Time. Chief Engineer Marcus Torres watched the display screens flicker and die. Around him, alien technicians stared in confusion at their useless equipment. What happened? Demanded his Thraxian supervisor. Torres unplugged his personal datapad from the maintenance port. System failure, he said simply. I need to run diagnostics. He did not mention that he had just activated the shutdown sequence himself, or that every human engineer in the galaxy was doing the same thing at the same moment. By morning, the Council would understand what they had lost. On Concordia Prime, the Council building blazed with emergency lights. Zixthar stood in the communications center, watching his subordinates scramble to restore the network. Messages that should have taken seconds now took hours. Some were not arriving at all. How long to repair? He demanded. The chief technician, a spider-like arachnus, worked frantically at its console. The quantum relays are not responding. The entire network is offline. I do not understand. These systems have never failed. Contact the human engineers, Zixthar ordered. They are gone, Counselor. All of them left on the evacuation ships. They said their contracts were tied to Council. Membership, Zixthar felt something he had not experienced in his long life. Fear. The quantum relay network touched everything. Banking, trade, military coordination, medical databases. Without it, the Council was blind and deaf. Get me estimates on restoring communications using traditional methods, he said. Hours later, the estimates arrived. Without quantum relays, messages between core worlds would take 3 weeks. Messages to the rim would take months. The galaxy had just become impossibly large again. In the council chamber, emergency sessions ran constantly. Representatives who could reach Concordia Prime in person attended. Others sent messages that arrived days late. Decisions that once took hours now took weeks. The Kelon Federation delegate arrived in person, its water tank wheeled into the chamber by servants. My government demands answers. Our trade routes are in chaos. Shipments are lost because we cannot coordinate with port authorities. We are working to restore communications, Zixthar said. With what? The Quelon snapped. The humans designed that network. They installed it. They maintained it. Do we even have the technical specifications? Silence answered that question. A Lumini representative shimmered into view, having traveled for 3 days to attend in person. There is worse news. The medical center on Luminos reported that their diagnostic scanners stopped working. The human technicians who maintained them are gone. We have patients who need those scanners. Around the chamber, other representatives began reporting similar problems. Jump gates becoming unreliable. Agricultural systems failing. Water purification plants shutting down. Everywhere, human engineers and technicians had been maintaining systems that the Council assumed were simple. They were not simple. They were sophisticated beyond what most Council species had achieved. Humanity had been quietly keeping the galaxy running. This is sabotage, Zixthar declared. An act of war. The humans cannot be allowed to hold the galaxy hostage, but his words felt hollow. The humans had not sabotaged anything. They had simply stopped fixing things. Captain Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the tactical display. 300 human ships were spread across a dozen star systems, evacuating citizens and personnel. So far, the operation was proceeding smoothly. Status report, she ordered. Her first officer, Commander Park, consulted his screens. 70% of personnel evacuated. The medical teams are taking longer. They insist on stabilizing patients before leaving. That is like them, Okonkwo said with a slight smile. Give them the time they need. What about the colony worlds? All defensive protocols activated. The Council is getting quite a surprise when their reconnaissance ships approach. Okonkwo had seen the reports. Council ships sent to observe human colonies were encountering defensive grids that should not exist. Weapons platforms, shield generators, automated defense drones, all hidden in plain sight for decades. Ma'am, incoming transmission from the Starlight, Park reported. Captain Hammond reports completion of his section. Acknowledged. Signal the fleet. Phase 2 begins in 6 hours. Phase 2 was the complete withdrawal from Council space. Every human ship, every satellite, every piece of equipment would be removed or destroyed. They would leave nothing behind that could be reverse engineered. A priority message flashed on her console. It was marked with Chen's personal code. She read it quickly. Her expression hardened. All ships, this is the Defiant, she broadcast. New intelligence suggests Council military action is likely. All evacuation vessels increase speed. Combat vessels form defensive screen. Around her, the bridge crew moved efficiently. They had trained for this. On the planet below, Dr. Sarah Kamani worked frantically to stabilize her patients. She ran the largest hospital in Council space, and she had 30 critical patients who could not be moved yet. Doctor, the ships are leaving, her assistant said nervously. He was a young Lumini, barely 50 years old. Then they leave, she said, adjusting an IV drip. I will not abandon my patients. She had treated thousands of aliens over her 20-year career.
She had saved lives from dozens of species.
She could not just leave them to die because politicians were fighting. The hospital's communication system crackled. "Dr. Kamani, this is Captain Hammond of the UES Starlight. We show you still on the surface. I have patients who cannot be moved," she replied. "Doctor, we have orders to evacuate all human personnel." "Then you will have to wait," she said firmly. There was a pause. Then Hammond's voice returned, softer. "How long do you need?" 24 hours minimum. You have 12. After that, Council security forces will likely prevent any evacuation. I will stay in orbit as long as I can, but I have 300 civilians on board who need to reach safety." Kimani looked at her patients, at the alien nurses working alongside her human staff, at the technology keeping these beings alive. "Understood," she said. 12 hours, she turned to her staff. "We move to emergency protocols. Stabilize everyone for transport or transfer. Anyone who cannot travel gets transferred to local care with full treatment plans." They worked through the night. Human doctors and alien nurses side by side, racing against the clock. Some of the alien staff chose to stay. Others packed to leave with the humans, unwilling to remain in a council that would drive away their colleagues. In orbit, Captain Hammond watched the countdown. 11 hours, 10, 9. On the bridge of the Defiant, Okonkwo received troubling reports. Council ships were beginning to mobilize. Not rescue vessels, warships. She opened a channel to Admiral Zhang, commanding the evacuation fleet. "Admiral, we have movement from Council naval forces. 3 battle groups converging on human positions." Zhang's weathered face appeared on the screen. "How long until evacuation is complete?" 18 hours, sir. We may not have 18 hours. Zhang looked off screen, reading something. "Continue evacuation. All combat vessels prepare for defensive action. Rules of engagement: do not fire first. But if they fire on our evacuation ships, respond with overwhelming force." "Yes, sir." The orders spread through the fleet. Weapon systems came online. Shields powered up. Humanity had not wanted a fight, but they would not run from one either. In the council chamber, Zixthar addressed the assembled representatives. "Humanity has crippled our infrastructure. They hold our technology hostage. This cannot stand. I propose military action to secure human territory and force them to restore our systems." The vote was close. 24 in favor, 23 opposed. War had been declared. The news reached the human fleet within hours. Okonkwo read the report twice, unable to believe it. They were voting to attack during an evacuation. "To fire on ships carrying civilians, all ships, battle alert Omega," she ordered. "This is not a drill. Council forces are inbound with hostile intent. Protect the evacuation vessels at all costs." On the hospital planet, Dr. Kamani loaded the last patient onto a shuttle. She had done it. "All patients stabilized. All transferred or evacuated. Doctor, we need to go now." Hammond's voice was urgent. She took one last look at the hospital. Her life's work. Then she boarded the shuttle. As it lifted off, she saw ships in the distance. Council ships. Coming fast. The Starlight's engines flared as it accelerated toward the jump point. Behind them, Council vessels opened fire. The first shots of the war had been fired, and humanity had not fired them. Captain Okonkwo watched the tactical display as Council missiles streaked toward the Starlight. The civilian transport carrying Dr. Kimani and 300 other souls. "All ships weapons free," she said coldly. "Show them why we stayed quiet all these years. Show them what humanity really built." The Defiant and her sister ships moved to intercept. The Council was about to learn that the species they dismissed as young and weak had been preparing for this moment. Everything was falling apart. The war had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 months had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. The galaxy was dying. Not literally, of course. Stars still burned, planets still orbited, but the civilization that had connected thousands of worlds was collapsing like a house built on sand. On Thraxis Prime, Supreme Commander Grath watched the reports with growing horror. Food riots had broken out in the southern continent. The agricultural systems that fed 2 billion Thraxians were failing. The human engineers who had maintained them were gone, and nobody else understood how they worked. "What about the backup systems?" he demanded. His aide, a younger Thraxian, shook his massive head. "The backup systems were designed by humans 50 years ago. We do not have the technical documentation. Our engineers are trying to reverse engineer them, but it will take years. We do not have years. We have weeks before widespread starvation. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. On Kylon, the water purification plants were breaking down. On Arachnus, the power grid was becoming unstable. On a dozen worlds, diseases that had been controlled for decades were returning because medical systems were failing. The Council had not realized how much they depended on humanity until humanity was gone. In the Council chamber, what remained of the government tried to function. Only half the species could send representatives in person. The others could not make the journey without the quantum relay network to coordinate travel. Sixthar stood before them, his mandibles clicking with frustration. "The situation is untenable. We must negotiate with the humans." "Negotiate," roared a Thraxian representative. "They destroyed our infrastructure. They left us to die." "They did not destroy anything," said a Kelon delegate quietly. "They built it. They maintained it. They left. We are the ones who never learned how it worked." "That is semantics," Zixthar snapped. "The result is the same. Billions suffer." A Lumini representative shimmered forward. "There is more. The war between the Thraxian Empire and Quailon Federation has escalated. Without human diplomats mediating, old grievances have resurfaced." This was news to many in the chamber. "What war?" someone asked. "It started as a trade dispute 6 weeks ago," the Lumini explained. "Normally, human mediators would have resolved it, but there are no human mediators anymore. It has escalated to border skirmishes. 3 colonies destroyed, thousands dead." Silence fell over the chamber. "There is worse," continued the Lumini. "The Krell pirates have become bold without human patrol ships. They have raided 16 worlds in the last month. The Vexian plague has broken out on 4 planets because human medical protocols were not maintained. And the fringe worlds are declaring independence because they see no point in remaining in a council that cannot help them." Zixthar felt the weight of his failures crushing down. The vote to make Earth a protectorate had seemed so reasonable. Humanity was young, reckless. They needed guidance, control. Now he understood. They had not been controlling humanity. Humanity had been holding the galaxy together. "How many species have requested to open diplomatic channels with the humans?" he asked quietly. His aide consulted a data pad. 31, Counselor. 12 have done so without Council approval. The Council was not just collapsing, it was being abandoned. In human space, things looked very different. The city of Nova Terra stretched across 3 continents of humanity's hope, the first major colony world. Ambassador Chen walked through streets filled with humans and aliens living side by side. The Lumini who had been first to join the new Terran Federation. Krelon refugees. Even some Thraxians who had left their empire. He entered the Federation Assembly building. Unlike the council chambers with their hierarchies and elevated platforms, this was a circular room. Every species sat at the same level. Chancellor Maria Santos called the meeting to order. She was a former colony administrator, elected by the new Federation's citizens, human and alien both. "Report on infrastructure restoration," she requested. An engineer stood. He was Quailon, his name translated as Flowing River. He had defected from the Council 3 months ago. "We have completed the relay network connecting all Federation worlds," Flowing River reported. "Communication is instant across 193 star systems. We have also begun extending aid to the 12 species who have requested assistance." "At what cost?" asked a human representative. "Technical training and diplomatic recognition," Chen answered. "They must agree to Federation principles. Equality for all species, democratic representation, free exchange of knowledge." "Some are calling us imperial," Santos said. "They say we are building the Council all over again." "No," said a Lumini delegate named Brightstar. She had been among the first to join. "The Council ruled by hoarding knowledge and maintaining control. The Federation shares everything. Anyone can leave if they wish. That is the difference." The meeting continued, dealing with the practical matters of running a growing interstellar government, food distribution, medical supply chains, defense coordination. On the defense station orbiting New Earth, Captain Okonkwo reviewed tactical reports. Her fleet had grown. Ships from allied species had joined the Federation Navy. Commander Park entered her office. "Ma'am, long-range sensors detect a large council fleet assembling at the border." Okonkwo studied the data. 10,000 ships. 20 species represented, the largest military fleet in modern galactic history. Time to intercept? 72 hours at their current speed. She opened a secure channel to Federation Command. Admiral Zhang appeared on screen. "I see it," he said before she could speak. "The Council is making its move. Can we win?" Okonkwo asked. Zhang was quiet for a moment. "Our technology is better. Our crews are better trained. But they have numbers. It will be costly. Recommendations? Defensive positions at Proxima Threshold. It is the natural choke point into Federation space. We hold there or we fight them across a dozen star systems." Okonkwo nodded. She had studied that scenario many times. "I will take the fleet forward." "Sarah," Zhang said, using her first name. "This could be the defining battle of the war. If we lose, the Federation is vulnerable. If we win, we might break the Council forever." "No pressure then," she said with a tight smile. "Good hunting, Captain." The channel closed. Okonkwo stood and walked to the window. Outside, hundreds of ships were already moving into formation. Human vessels mixed with Lumini light ships and Quilon sphere craft. This was what the Federation was supposed to be. Different species working together. Not because one ruled the others, but because they chose to stand together. She just hoped it would be enough. In his private chambers on Concordia Prime, Zixthar prepared for what he knew must be done. The fleet was assembling. They would attack human space. They would force humanity to restore the infrastructure, to return to the Council, to accept their place. But doubt gnawed at him. He pulled up classified intelligence reports. Human military capabilities were far beyond what they had shown. Every Council spy that had tried to infiltrate human space had been caught. Every surveillance probe destroyed. Humanity had known this war was coming. They had been preparing for it since the day they joined the Council. His aide entered. "Counselor, there is a message. From Ambassador Chen. Delete it, sir, it is marked urgent. Eyes only." Zixthar hesitated, then nodded. The aide activated the display and left. Chen's face appeared. He looked tired, older than Zixthar remembered. "Counselor," Chen began. "By the time you watch this, your fleet will be moving toward our borders. I am sending this message to ask you to reconsider." Zixthar wanted to delete it, but he watched. "We did not want this war," Chen continued. "We wanted to work with you, to be equals. But you saw us as children, as primitives who needed to be controlled, so we left. That should have been the end of it." Chen leaned forward. "But you cannot let us go. You cannot accept that we might succeed without you. So you send your fleet. You tell your people that humanity is the enemy, that we destroyed your infrastructure. But we both know the truth. You destroyed yourselves. You built a civilization on stagnation and control. You relied on our innovation while refusing to learn from us. And now that we are gone, everything is falling apart. Turn back, Counselor. Let us build our Federation. Let your people heal. In time, perhaps we can find a better way forward. But if you attack, many will die. And I promise you we will defend ourselves." The message ended. Zixthar sat in the darkness. Outside his window, he could see transport ships launching, carrying soldiers to the fleet. Young warriors going to fight humanity. He could stop this. One order: recall the fleet. Begin real negotiations, but pride held him back. Pride and fear. If he stopped now, it would be admitting that the Council was wrong. That everything they had built for 10,000 years was a lie. He could not do that. So the fleet would go. The battle would come, and the galaxy would burn. Zixthar wondered if Chen was right, if they were destroying themselves. But by the time they knew for certain, it would be too late. The war had begun. Now it would be decided, and Zixthar feared they had already lost. The Battle of Proxima Threshold would be remembered for 1,000 years. But as Captain Sarah Okonkwo watched the Council fleet emerge from hyperspace, she was not thinking about history. She was thinking about survival. "Count?" she asked. 9,743 ships, Commander Park reported. 20 species represented. "They have the numbers." Okonkwo looked at her own tactical display. 3,000 Federation ships. 1/3 the enemy's strength. But they had something the Council did not. Unity of purpose. All ships, this is Okonkwo. Battle stations. Remember your training. We hold this line. Across the fleet, crews prepared. Human ships powered up their advanced shield systems. Lumini light ships charged their beam weapons. Quaylon sphere craft deployed their drone swarms. Species that had been enemies for centuries now fought side by side. The Council fleet advanced in formation. Traditional battle lines, massive dreadnoughts at the center, smaller vessels in wings. They moved like they expected humanity to do the same. They were wrong. Execute Delta 7, Okonkwo ordered. The Federation fleet scattered. Ships broke formation and accelerated in seemingly random directions. The Council fleet tried to track them, their formation becoming confused. Incoming transmission from the Council flagship, Park reported. Okonkwo nodded. A Thraxian commander appeared on screen. Supreme Admiral Korath, one of the Council's finest military minds. Human vessels, you will stand down and accept Council authority. This is your only warning, Admiral. Okonkwo replied calmly. You are attacking Sovereign Federation territory. Leave now and we will consider this a mistake. Continue and we will defend ourselves. Korath's massive jaw clenched. You cannot win. We outnumber you 3-1, perhaps, but how many of your allies are truly committed to this fight? How many are here because they want to be? And how many because the Vraxil forced them? Korath did not answer. He closed the channel. Weapons locked on our position, Park announced. They are opening fire. The Council fleet unleashed its first barrage. Thousands of missiles and energy beams crossed the void. It was an awesome display of firepower. It was also predictable. Countermeasures, Okonkwo ordered. The Federation ships deployed defensive drones, small intelligent machines that intercepted missiles and deflected beams. Technology the Council had rejected as too complex. Most of the barrage was stopped. The few weapons that got through hit shields far stronger than the Council expected. Return fire, Okonkwo said. Targeting Solution Gamma. Aim for the command ships. The Federation fleet struck back. But they did not fight like the Council expected. Human ships used guerrilla tactics, striking and retreating. Luminae vessels phased through shields using quantum displacement. Kelon drones swarmed individual ships, overwhelming their defenses. The Council fleet's neat formations collapsed into chaos. Aboard the Council flagship, Admiral Korath watched in disbelief as his fleet took heavy casualties. The humans were not fighting fair. They were using tactics he had never seen. Technology that should not exist. How are they doing this? He demanded. His tactical officer studied the displays. Their shields are quantum layered. Their weapons have predictive targeting. Their coordination is perfect, like they are all thinking as one mind. That is impossible. No species has that level of technology. The humans do, sir. Or rather, they did not share it with the Council. Korath felt something he had rarely experienced. Doubt. The humans had spent 83 years in the Council holding back their true capabilities. They had been quiet and patient while learning everything about Council military doctrine. Now they were using that knowledge to tear his fleet apart. All ships, fall back to secondary positions, he ordered. Reform battle lines. But several ships did not respond. Their captains had had enough. The first ship to break formation was Kelon. The spherecraft simply turned and left the battle. Then a Luminae lightship followed. Then 3 Arachnus vessels. What are they doing? Korath demanded. His communications officer looked pale. Sir, we are receiving transmissions from the deserting ships. They say they will not fight for Vraxil interests. They say this war is not theirs. 8 species, 47 ships. They simply left. Okonkwo watched the Council fleet begin to fracture. Open a broadcast channel. All frequencies. When Park confirmed it was ready, she spoke not just to the enemy military, but to everyone listening across the galaxy. This is Captain Sarah Okonkwo of the Terran Federation. To all Council forces, I ask you to examine why you are here. The Vraxil told you humanity was the enemy. But what have we done? We left the Council peacefully. We took only what was ours. We asked only to be left alone. She paused, letting that sink in. Now you attack us. You fire on our homes. And for what? Because we will not obey the Vraxil? Because we chose freedom over their control? On Council ships across the fleet, crews listened. Some had been friends with humans. Some had been saved by human doctors. Some had learned from human teachers. I have fought beside many of you. Okonkwo continued. I have called some of you friends. I do not want to kill you. But I will defend my people. I will defend the Federation. If you continue this attack, many of you will die. She let steel enter her voice. But know this. We are not the weak species the Vraxil claimed. We are not children who need protection. We are humans, and we do not surrender. The transmission ended. Across the Council fleet, more ships began to withdraw. Captains made their choice. Some would later say they ran from cowardice. Others would say they chose wisdom over pride. But the fleet that had been 10,000 ships was now 7,000. Still more than double the Federation's numbers, but the momentum had shifted. Admiral Korath knew he had one chance. A direct assault on the human command ship. If he could kill Okonkwo, the Federation fleet might lose coordination. All Thraxian vessels form on my position. We break through their center. 2,000 massive Thraxian warships, the strongest vessels in the Council fleet, formed a wedge. They charged directly at the defiant. Okonkwo watched them come. They are committing everything. Park, signal all ships. Formation Omega. Park hesitated. Formation Omega was desperate. It meant the Defiant would stand alone against the charge while the rest of the fleet circled behind. Ma'am, you will not survive that assault. I know. Send the signal. The Federation fleet peeled away. The Defiant stood alone. On the bridge, the crew worked in silence. They knew what was coming. But nobody suggested retreat. It has been an honor serving with you all, Okonkwo said quietly. The Thraxian wedge was seconds from impact. Okonkwo prepared to give the order to fire everything they had. Then space twisted. Between the Defiant and the charging Thraxians, a massive ship appeared. It was twice the size of any vessel in either fleet. Its hull was marked with symbols nobody recognized. What is that? Park whispered. The alien ship activated weapons that made everything both fleets carried look like toys. A single beam cut through the Thraxian formation like it was paper, not destroying ships but disabling them. Shields collapsed. Weapons went offline. Engines died. In seconds, the charge was stopped. A transmission came through. The voice was translated by systems more advanced than anything the Council or Federation possessed. This is the eldest. We have watched this galaxy for 10,000 years. We have watched the Council rule through stagnation. We have waited for something to change. The alien ship, the eldest vessel, turned slowly. It was beautiful and terrifying. Humanity has changed it. In 83 years, you have done what we hoped to see. You have challenged the old order. You have built something new. We will not allow that to be destroyed. Admiral Korath's voice came through, shaking. Who are you? We are those who came before. Before the Council. Before your empires. We left this galaxy to its own development. But we always watched. We always hoped someone would break the cycle of stagnation. The eldest ship moved between the two fleets. This war is over. Council forces, return home. Your fleet is crippled. Your cause is lost. If you attack again, we will not be so gentle. Korath had no choice. His fleet was beaten. His allies had abandoned him. And now a force beyond his understanding had intervened. All Council ships withdraw, he ordered. The Council fleet retreated. The Battle of Proxima Threshold was over. Okonkwo sat back in her chair, exhausted. Did we just win? I think so, ma'am, Park said, equally stunned. Though I am not sure how. The eldest ship transmitted again. Captain Okonkwo, Ambassador Chen, Chancellor Santos. We wish to speak with your leaders. There is much to discuss. Okonkwo looked at the massive alien vessel. Humanity had been preparing for war with the Council. They had not been preparing for this. This is Okonkwo. We would be honored to meet with you. The battle was won. The war was over. But the galaxy had just become much more complicated, and much more interesting. 1 year after the Battle of Proxima Threshold, Ambassador Chen Wei stood in the gardens of New Geneva. The city had been built specifically as a neutral meeting ground. Humans and aliens walked together under artificial skies. Children played without knowing which species they belonged to. This was the dream. This was what they had fought for. Beautiful, is it not? Asked a voice beside him. Chen turned to see Bright Star, the Lumini delegate who had been first to join the Federation. Her light form pulsed with contentment. It is, Chen agreed. I never thought I would see this in my lifetime. You made it possible. When you walked out of that council chamber, you changed everything. Chen shook his head. I just lit the match. Others built the fire. They walked together through gardens designed by a dozen species. Each contributed their own aesthetic. The result was chaotic but beautiful. The council wants to talk again, Bright Star said. I heard. What do they want this time? Admission to the Federation. Chen stopped walking. What? Not all of them. But 38 species have petitioned to join. They have dissolved the old council. They want to start fresh under Federation principles. Chen sat on a bench. He felt old suddenly, tired. That is what we wanted, But it feels strange now that it is happening. Change always does, Brightstar said gently. The question is, do we let them join? That is not my decision anymore. I retired, remember? Yet Chancellor Santos still asks your advice. As do the rest of us. Chen thought about it. The old council that had rejected humanity, that had tried to make Earth a protectorate, that had sent a fleet to destroy them. Should those species be welcomed? Yes, he said finally. We let them join, but they follow our rules. Equality, democracy, shared knowledge, no more hierarchy based on age or power. Some will not accept that. Then they do not join. We are building something new. Anyone who wants the old ways can keep them. Somewhere else, Brightstar's light pulsed with approval. I will convey your thoughts to the Chancellor. Across the city in the Federation Assembly Building, Chancellor Maria Santos was having a similar conversation. But her visitor was less friendly. Zixthar, the former Vraxil Prime Counselor, stood before her. He had requested this meeting personally. Santos had almost refused. This was the being who had driven humanity from the Council, who had sent the fleet to attack them. But the Federation was built on principles. One of those was giving people second chances. Thank you for seeing me, Chancellor, Zixthar said. His mandibles clicked nervously. Santos had never seen him nervous before. You have 5 minutes, she said coldly. I came to apologize. For what I did. For what the Council did. We were wrong. Santos studied him, looking for deception. For calculation. She saw only regret. Why now? Why not a year ago? Or before the war? Zixthar settled into the chair designed for his species. Pride. Fear. I told myself that the Council's way was the only way. That 10,000 years of tradition could not be wrong. That humanity needed to be controlled for their own good. He looked at his clawed hands. I was wrong. The Council was dying long before humanity left. We just did not see it. Or we did not want to see it. Humanity leaving did not break the Council. It revealed that the Council was already broken. And now you want to join the Federation, Santos said. It was not a question. My people do. Not all of them. Many Vraxil still cling to the old ways, but many more have seen what you built. They want to be part of it. Under our rules. No special status. No elevated positions. The Vraxil would be equal to every other species. Including humans. I understand. It is more than we deserve. Santos was quiet for a long moment. The Vraxil killed thousands in the war. Sent fleets to destroy us. Why should we trust you? You should not, Zixthar said simply. Trust must be earned. I am not asking for trust. I am asking for a chance to earn it. Santos thought of Chen's words. The Federation was built on principles. One was that anyone could change. Anyone could choose to be better. I will bring your petition to the Assembly. They will decide, but I will tell you now, many will vote against you. I understand. Thank you for hearing me, Chancellor. After Zixthar left, Santos sat alone in her office. She thought about forgiveness, about second chances, about whether some wounds were too deep to heal. She did not know the answer, but she knew they had to try. On the orbital defense station, Captain Sarah Okonkwo watched her daughter play in the observation lounge. Little Maya was 3 years old, born after the war. She played with children from 6 different species, not knowing or caring about the differences. Crix, Okonkwo's husband, sat beside her. The Quilon engineer who had defected to humanity during the Dark Days, who had helped build the Federation's infrastructure. She will grow up in a better galaxy than we did, Crix said, his translated voice warm. If we can keep it together, Okonkwo replied. You worry too much. The Federation is strong. The Federation is 1 year old, still a baby in galactic terms. And we have challenges. The Vraxil remnant forces still raid from the outer rim. 12 species refuse to acknowledge us. The eldest watch everything we do. Crix took her hand. His 3-fingered grip was gentle. And yet here we are, different species working together, raising families, building a future. That would have been impossible 2 years ago. Okonkwo smiled. He was right. She had spent so much time preparing for war that she had forgotten how to appreciate peace. Admiral Zhang is retiring next month, she said. They want me to take his position. Will you? I do not know. I am a fighter, Crix, not an administrator. The Federation needs fighters. But it also needs leaders who understand what we are fighting for. Maya ran over laughing. She had been playing with a young Lumini. Mama, look. Bright can make pictures with her light. Okonkwo picked up her daughter. That is beautiful, sweetheart. She looked at Crix. I will think about it. In the council chamber, now called the Assembly of Free Species, representatives from 93 star systems gathered. Humans sat beside Lumini, beside Kelon, beside Thraxian, beside species no one had heard of a year ago. Chen watched from the visitors' gallery. He had declined a seat in the assembly, preferring to advise from the sidelines. He was too old for politics now. Chancellor Santos called the session to order. Today we vote on the petition from 38 former council species to join the Federation. This is not a simple decision. Many of these species fought against us. Many tried to destroy what we built. She paused, looking around the chamber. But the Federation was not built on revenge. It was built on the idea that anyone, any species, can choose to be better, can choose freedom over control, progress over stagnation. The question before us is simple. Do we believe in our own principles, or do we become what we fought against? The debate lasted 6 hours. Representatives spoke passionately on both sides. Some argued for forgiveness, others for caution. Some wanted to welcome everyone, others wanted to exclude those who had fought against them. Finally, the vote was called. 73 species voted to accept the petitioning species. 20 voted against. The motion passed. Chen watched as the chamber erupted in mixed reactions. Celebration and anger. Hope and fear. This was democracy. Messy, complicated, but free. A message came to his personal device. It was from an unknown source. He almost deleted it, but something made him open it. The message was simple. Ambassador Chen, we are the eldest. We have been watching your species for longer than you know. We watched you join the council. We watched you leave. We watched you build something new. We have a question. Will you meet with us? There is much you need to know about this galaxy's history, about cycles that have repeated for millions of years, about why we intervened at the battle, and about what comes next. If you are willing to learn, we are willing to teach. Chen stared at the message. A year ago, they had been fighting for survival. Now they were being invited to meet beings older than recorded history. He sent a single-word reply, yes. Outside the assembly building, the sun was setting. 3 moons rose in the sky. Ships from 100 worlds crossed the twilight, their lights like stars. In a cafe nearby, a human doctor sat with a Vraxil engineer. They were designing a new hospital together. Species that had been enemies were now colleagues. In a school, children from a dozen worlds learned together. Sharing cultures, making friends, building a future their parents could only dream of. In orbit, Captain Okonkwo made her decision. She would take the promotion, not because she wanted power, but because the Federation needed leaders who remembered why they fought, who understood that peace was not the absence of conflict, but the choice to build something better. The day humanity left the Galactic Council, everything fell apart. The old order collapsed. The ancient systems failed. War came, but from those ashes something new grew, something better. Not perfect, not without challenges, but free. The Federation was not the end of the story. It was the beginning. The eldest had secrets to share. New species waited at the galaxy's edge. Old enemies became new friends. And humanity, the species that had been dismissed as too young, too reckless, too emotional, showed the galaxy something it had forgotten. That change was not something to fear. It was something to embrace. That the future was not something to control. It was something to build together.